for the headquarters. We had was it, oh, damn it. It was near Paris. Also, whatever. It was one of those big castles of the French had. It was about 2 or 3 stories high, and it was almost a block long and probably a half a block wide, and a big cement thing out here, and then by the steps there were flower beds. I'm trying to remember. I think there was a small stream off to the side you never really saw. And then we headquartered in there for just a couple of days, and they broke us up. And I wound up, what the hell did I wind up? It was in France. It was south. The underground railroad came south across the river. It came it was some wealthy man's home. There was a garden and a pool out here. It never was really damaged during the war. There had been some buildings around it that had, but it was a home. It looked like a small castle. It was 3 stories high. It had a couple of major bedrooms and a kitchen and so forth on the ground floor, and sort of like a meeting room. And then immediately adjacent to the other type of home, the elongated thing, the door at the front, the door at the back, and I think some of them even had a door in the middle. But they were south of this beautiful home. It was actually more a home. It was a beautiful building, like I said. And then it had several bedrooms up on the 2nd floor. And then I think it had even a couple more. They changed them over up on the 3rd floor. And those of us that were asked to stay behind, there were about a half a dozen of us. They were mostly young lieutenants. There were 2 brothers in there. And
You said 2 brothers?
Mhm.
You said 2 brothers?
I think 2 brothers.
Oh, okay.
This is the first time they'd been together. They and there were 2 or 3 others, myself. We were given, and I know the 2 brothers got broken up. The one was sent one place, and the other one went someplace. But we would be given an assignment to go to this particular place. The best example is probably the worst thing that could have happened to anybody, but the plane crashed. The American plane crashed on D-Day, and it was probably, I want to say, it was probably 5 or 6 miles from south of Paris. Trying to keep it organized. And then it was west of southern Paris. It was west about 6 or 7 miles, something like that. It's a very small town. It had a church and a cemetery, and over a block or two, it had several buildings and a couple of houses. It was sort of didn't seem like a town, but it was more than just a few homes and a church. But basically, that's what it turned out to be. And so my job was to check on it because the plane, when it crashed, had exploded. And I guess there's will ever learn that everyone on the plane was killed, Americans. But, well, I say killed, they were not all killed at the time. Some of them during the crash, and then there were still in the plane wounded. The French, the priest, with a couple of his people, ran down to where the plane had crashed, only maybe 100 yards from the cemetery. And the Germans hadn't gotten there yet at that time. And so there were some of the bodies from the plane were either stripped or burned off or what. So they took the bones and whatever it was of these several flyers and put them up into the cemetery where the priest and the church was and so on, and put them in a box and sealed them and buried them in the cemetery. Well, then the Germans got there, and the Germans got in there fancy, and so they blew the plane, but they didn't do it right, and it killed the Germans as well as the other Germans that came, I guess, to check the plane to see if there was anybody living. Well, of course, there was nobody living. Now they were all burnt, and one of the bombs on the plane exploded. It hadn't been dropped, and all I could do, the French understood English up to a point, but he didn't miss anything, and he sort of gave me a sideways look, and he said, well, he said, you may be interested in this. And he took me to the cemetery, and he opened up this thing in the ground and took it. And here were the bones. Now this is 19, what? Long after the war was over. Here's this box full of bones and pieces of bone and the whole thing. We figured out offhand that it was probably at least three bodies there. They're close to it. And so I told the priest what would happen if I were to take those, and he said, well, he understood, and that would be fine. Somewhere in all that trash in there, I have a letter written by this priest on this thing that happened. I'm not even sure I know where it is anymore. It's stuff all up in there. But I had written him a letter thanking him for his problems and troubles and so forth. So, but we would get assignments like that, like I say, from this beautiful home with the pond out front. The railroad was beyond that. It was on what was a highway just off of it, hidden by trees and bushes along the way. You'd never see it if you didn't know that it was there. You never really see anything. But, and our building was a headquarters. We had some, oh, there was a horse's ass. I don't remember his name, but I think he was a lieutenant colonel, and he, lady friend of his, I think, was still a whack. I'm not sure, but they had clothes, and we'd have like on a Sunday when we didn't work too hard, we'd have a good meal in there. And he would come all dolled up with epaulets on his shoulders and her on his arm and so forth. And she was in her high dress and so forth. You never saw him. Very, very little. You never saw him. He was there. And I think they finally pulled him out. And they pulled us out. I know there was at least 2 sergeants and myself. We went to Utah Beach. There was a setup down there of 2 full colonels. One was he was not infantry, or I don't know what branch he was. The other, I think they were quartermaster or something, I don't know. But they were both full colonels, and they had their wives and kids with them. And they had this headquarters on the edge of this town. Now, mind you, this is several years. But
Was this after the war ended?
what?
Was this after the war ended?
No.
Oh, this was during. Okay.
But this was after the business I was talking about. So that broke up. And like I say, I wound up going all the way west to Utah Beach. The town was, I guess, about the closest to the actual landing. So, but so I have the mess sergeant had been with me for God knows how long through all of this, and he wound up down there. I don't know whether one of the colonels had been someplace else, and they brought in. We had 2 bird colonels and their wives and their children. And they were good people at one time, but they were in charge of that area. And when I came in, I went back to my being the guy looking after the rest of them, the, the cook and so forth. Oh, that's another story. But the French had not yet left these 600 prisoners out. They were still behind bars. They were still in jail, so to speak. 600 Germans were in this. And they had a company, a small company of Polish soldiers there who ran the guard on the Germans. And they had big log things that were 600 men. You got to feed them, you got to have a place for them to sleep. All of this. It seems so asinine to still have. And this is what? When the war ended,
45.
1945, 46, 47. Yeah, this was 47, 48, 49. It's a long time. On the Germans, 47. Well, not 40. Yeah, it was some of them. Yeah, it was 40, at least 47, and so I would coordinate with the I can't think.
Do you know approximately how many Germans you captured?
How many Germans what?
That you captured?
That I
Captured? Captured.
captured?
Yes. Oh, you didn't take any
These
prisoners.
were French. French people got these Germans. Well, I'd say French people, the French, and maybe the Americans. I don't know when they became prisoners, but it had to be after the attack on the beach and everything.
Yeah, the Normandy campaign.
Yeah, all those. So it had to be from at least that time forward. But they were sort of the pickup. And even then, if we would find someone or something that we could use, we would get the Polish and say, give us a couple of Germans and shovels or whatever we needed, and we would take them there or show them where what they're doing on their own and so on. The Germans didn't have a chance. I mean, even if they had a weapon to get back to Germany, they had to go all the way across France to get there. So but no, those were interesting times. And there again, the headquarters, like I say, I'm sort of the charge of the kitchen and looking after the polls and making sure that everything's right, the switchboard, the people are in their positions or that they make their job on time and so on. I still had the same cook and most of the crew I had. They were still with me. But, in fact, the chief cook, he we had three, four, we had five military women, American women, there also. And like I say, the mission was still pretty much the same of looking for crashed airplanes and dug in bodies and what have you. And surprisingly, some of them were quite interested. There was one old boy who spoke good English. I can't think of the town. It has a long name, but it's just south of the beachhead. But it's well, the main highway that comes from Paris along the north side all the way out to the one for the castle's up on top of the island. You can't go out there when the tide's in. The tide's out, you can drive out to the edge. And we fixed that up too later. But at any rate, they all had their various jobs to do and whatever. It looked to me like there was a lot of stuff they could have done away with. They didn't. One of the trucks. I'm trying to remember if the German was driving. He wasn't supposed to, but they would use the German prisoner. This one gentleman, Frenchman. I don't know if he was mayor of this town, but he was well up in the business and what was going on. And he had homemade wine, and he had buried it in his yard or someplace. And
Did you try some of that wine at all?
oh yeah, hell, he took me. We became pretty good friends. The Frenchman, you know, like the father of the town, so to speak. And
Do you remember his name at all?
no, I don't. It was nothing. It was just a regular name. He was a regular Frenchman. He might have had a little English in him. I don't know, because he spoke good English. But one of the trips that had gone out to do something, he had two prisoners of war and an armed Polish guard back into the truck, and I can't remember whether one of the Germans was driving the truck or it may have been a Frenchman. I don't remember. All I do remember is the fact that they came back into town on the smaller road, and they had to turn onto the main road in town. He didn't quite make the corner. He hit the store head on, so to speak, with the truck. It didn't do a lot of damage, broke the windows in the store, and I don't remember that the car might have, the truck might have been scratched, but it wasn't hurt. And the driver, that's why I think a German was driving, but he wasn't supposed to be. I think the Polish would let him. responsible, so they didn't have to. But at any rate, it got taken care of, and that's when I got to know the good man, because it damaged one of the stores in the community. Uh, but like I say, he had a farm on the edge of town. He raised chickens and small stuff, no cattle or anything like that. But he, 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 I don't know what it was, but he said to me, he said, "You've never been out to my place." And I said, "No, I haven't had the pleasure." He said, "Well, come along with me." And so he let me out. And it was just out on the edge of town, and had the yard for the chickens and this, that, and there was some other places here, and some things. And not far from the steps into the kitchen of the house was a bare spot. Not very big. He said, "Excuse me." He says, "I got to get." Went in the house and he came out with a small shovel business. And he went to this bare spot, just a couple steps off the side of it. And he pulls out this box, and there's 3 bottles of wine in it. God knows how long it had been there. He made his own wine. And I tell you, drink some of that, and boy, you've had it. And I drank some of it, and oh boy, it was super, super wine. But he, like I say, he was a good man. And he looked after his people, and he helped us, and he didn't particularly like the fools. But after that, I went back to the States. And, I don't remember what happened after that. I can't even, well, well, I'm trying to remember if that was when I went back. I traveled all over France, one way or another. The only major town I didn't get into the town itself was the ocean, middle France, in the middle from north to south, probably a little closer to Spain, but it was where the Germans have their submarines and stuff in there. What the hell was it? I want to say it started with a B. It's a port town. It was a bigger port town than France owned, I think, because it was on the Atlantic Ocean.
I want to say Antwerp, but I know that's like near Belgium. I can't think of the name of that.
But at any rate, that was the only place I never really got. I've been every place else in France it can be. Oh, well, let's see. What? What? Well, that was Yeah. I can't. I get my life. Yeah. No, I can't. I'm trying to think. Well, it was after that that I came. Yes, I went over my time wall tied in with what? I don't remember. But, yeah, oh, I'm trying to think on what what I missed was when I was about the business of going out home and then coming back. I what I didn't what I didn't cover back there was and let me think. No, this is the second. First time. Well, I, I lost out some point. I think I know what it was. It was when the 10 of us or so on went to the school, um, pick up of bodies and that type of thing. We went 2 weeks, and then we had to report to Fort, uh, the fort in New Jersey. No, New Jersey. Here we go again. Not New Jersey, in Long.
The Long Island?
Yeah, the military post on Long Island. Uh, I think I got that far. And then we went overseas. One of the things that happened after, I think I told you about the train wreck and so on.
Yeah.
When I came back, I spent a couple of nights with my parents, but I'd be going back to Europe. And so when I went back to Long Island, to the post there, and this was right at Christmas time, and I thought it was unusual. I mean, the war itself was over, so, but I got to the post, and I got a room, and who I was supposed to call, so on, and I'd only been there one night, and the next morning they called me. They said, "We've had a change in plan." He said, uh, "We are not sending you over the holidays." And he said, "You're free to go back, to go home or to go wherever you want. Uh, you do not have to stay here." Uh, And I thought, I've just been at home, and so I went to the Taft Hotel, which is on Manhattan. Now, I had been there some years before when I came back from the Boy Scout jamboree in Holland. And I was just a kid in high school. But so I went there and got a room. And so I had uniform. I didn't have any civilian clothes. And so I had several different uniforms. So I had the one I wear every day. I looked around and I looked through the top of the tower. I had been up there when I was in high school. I had been, I don't think there are very many people, if any, that has ever crawled up the small ladder of the arm of the lady, the Free Lady in the lake, in the harbor.
The Statue of Liberty?
Statue of Liberty. And I was a kid, and we had a full day before our boat would sail. This is Boy Scouts. And I'm going to be a junior in high school, and a Star Boy Scout. And so we had the day we left Washington, the first National Boy Scout jamboree, and my dad had joined us, and that the night before, and we broke up the next morning, and like I say, there were 800 Boy Scouts going to the 5th annual Boy Scout World Boy Scout in Holland. And so we had the full day in New York where we would be at any rate, when I was a Boy Scout, I and three of them, crawled up the ladder of the arm, and there's looking out underneath the head of the lady holding her hand up.
Yeah, the Statue of Liberty.
Got all the way to the top, and you could only get 2 people on there. So the third one, he stepped aside. Then one of the other men will step out, and he step in and get his view, and so on. Like at any rate, so here's my dad and I, and 8 other scouts. We can't sail till that night, so we're, like I say, we sort of messed around, went up to at that time, what was it was the tallest building in New York. Can't remember the name of it.
I could have sworn it was the Empire State Building.
What?
The Empire State Building?
It started with an S.
I can't remember the name either. Yeah, I thought it was the Empire State Building.
Well, it is. I think it is. I think it is the Empire State Building. That's where the S comes from. Yeah. And so we spent that day, and we ate, I don't know, in a restaurant something, and then we go back to the where we get on the boat. And they opened up the doors, I think, at 9 o'clock, or I guess earlier than that. But we anyway, we got our place. on there. We sailed at midnight to, where the hell did we get off? Oh, in Great Britain. But it was a Nazi boat. Yeah, it was a regular boat, but it was Nazi. It was German. It had the markings.
Oh, it had the eagle and swastika on it. Oh, wow.
And the one we came back on was also a German boat. But that was Boy Scout. That the 4 days that I had now at Christmas time on going back to Europe, the like I say, I got around downtown and did this and did that and so on. And they had a place where the girls would come in and GIs in uniform and so forth could come there. And they then would dance with the girls and music. Some band or orchestra. There was a name for them. They had them. This is World War II, right after the war. At any rate, well, I just went around New York. I think I went someplace with the devil. I think they were having a festival or something up on the north side. It's across from Long Island, north in there. But I came down and got a drink at the bar and went into the second floor, looked down and see all these girlies dancing with the boys in the uniform. And I'm sipping on my drink and watching them. And so I had a chair at the balcony. So, and this one good-looking gal had sort of light, not pure blonde, but sort of real light hair. Pretty hair. And she'd dance and she'd look up and see me and she'd smile and dance around and I'd take a sip out of my drink. Couldn't have drinks down there, but you could in the balcony. There was little balconies, maybe half the size of length of this room, only hold a half dozen people, maybe not even that many. And so I finished my drink and she looked up and she smiled at me and she indicated she was going to the door. And she just made a little motion with her hand and pointed. So I left my empty glass and went down the steps. And she was there, but she waved me on. She started walking and walked a block. And she joined up with me. I forget her name now. I'll probably think of it tonight sometime. But, she, like I say, she was a real cute looking gal. She looked like she was probably in college. This was the holidays coming up. And she said we couldn't drink down there and we're not supposed to make dates in the area. But she said, I'll stay away for a while. They'll miss me more than I'll miss them. And so we went and we had a drink, and so I said, it was about a block away. And what the hell was a hotel? Uh, Lincoln? Lincoln, no.
What letter did it start with?
What?
What letter did it start with?
Letter?
Yeah, like what did it start with? Was it like a did it start with an L or something?
You mean
The hotel.
this place where they were dancing?
Yeah.
They were around the country where the girls could could get together with the GI and others. It was there was a name for it. I can't think of it. You can't.
Hmm.
But there were different ones around the country, particularly in the larger communities who could afford the music and maybe a band or at least a player of some sort. And it would be basically the for the soldier. And I don't know. I think I've seen one or two others at one time or another, but I never did. It was like this. I got 4 days of no leave, no charge, no nothing. Like I say, I went to the Hotel Taft and got a room for 4 days. And they gave me a break on the price. So, and at any rate, so like I say, we met and we went in and had a drink. And she made some comment about, and I told her, I said, well, I'll have to go back on active duty on such and such a date because the way things are screwed up. I thought I was going to sail it before Christmas. She sort of laughed, and she said, I know there's a good movie, something, but I'd like to meet her tomorrow. And so I said, well, yeah, that sounds good. And she says, well, come to there was a good bar at I want to say Lincoln, the Lincoln Hotel, but that isn't right. I know, I don't know where I got the Lincoln from, but
Did it start with the letter L? Did it start with L at all? Did it start with the letter L?
L?
Yeah, did it start with an L at all?
Hour?
L? Did it start with an L?
Seventh and L.
No. Did the hotel start with an L at all?
Lincoln.
Oh, it was named Lincoln?
I think that was it.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so, at any rate, there was a young man with her. And I guess they were more or less good friends, but I don't know that she was necessarily dating him, but they just happened to be friends. So he was a nice guy. And the next day was the next day, at any rate, it was Christmas Eve. I'm trying to not mix up the days here because I'm 4 days out. And then I come back. Well, at any rate, whatever happened was that I sat with her and her friend, and we went to the